been told, and I wanted to also touch on like black femme handlers of like white cis dudes, and not only white cis dudes, but like how it's not even just like black femme folks, it's also black folks in general and their white partners holding space for their white partners to fuck up and continually be ignorant. You know what I mean? It's like it's one of those things that I'm seeing a lot more of, and I know like for my own personal self, I made a lot of sacrifices in my relationship with a white person because my dual consciousness. I could see him as an oppressor. I could see him as an abuser, and not just because of, you know, the historical ramifications, but because of the individual. But tying the individual to the historical is imperative to be dealing with white folks, because it's not so out of nowhere. Like, remember the other day that white lady walked up and was talking to you forever, that older white lady with the short hair?
I know, and I kept on trying to shirk her. And just communicate very explicitly, you're taking up a lot of my time and space, but it's like they find you and they just want to start feeding.
Yes.
Feeding.
This white lady told me a story. She told me a story for 10 minutes about the fucking Beatles. Was talking about how she was in the 60s and she was a little girl and she was just having popcorn and her house coat on and watching the Beatles. And I'm like, nigga, do you know what's going on with my people in the 60s? Fuck out of here. Fuck your Beatles, bitch. I don't give a fuck. But that's the thing. White people don't think about it. White people don't have to think about it. White people, like when we talk about time travel, there's this joke that black folks don't want to go nowhere before the 1980s, and even the 1980s is kind of suspect. And it's like, why? We don't talk about white people being evil. We don't talk about the ramifications of whiteness and white supremacy. We're so busy acting like it's niggas' problem while niggas is fucking fucked up and why niggas is internalized all this shit. And it fucks me up all the time, because it's like, look, as we're saying, if black folks is building the house under the watchful eye of the white folks, obviously the way that the house is going to be built to embed the black folks building it into the walls, into everything, into the floor, into the fucking stairs, so they can be walked on in death. So that's what it is. It's constantly, everything is not fucking out of nowhere. We didn't just appear out of nowhere. Black and brown bodied folks were fucking dragged here through death, through fucking sickness, through fucking poverty. A poverty so fucking potent that it continues to fucking, it like ripples in a pond, continues to fucking ebb and shock cultures and fucking generations of people who have fucking never even left this motherfucker. People that's from here get asked every day, where the fuck are you from? But nobody wants to talk about the ramifications and be explicit about white supremacy and the ways in which white folks move so that they don't really gotta move. They want to stand still and move their arms a little bit, but I swear to God, they don't fucking move. They just sit there. Yesterday, I'm on the street trying to talk about whiteness, trying to break it down for somebody that I wanted to talk to, and the whole time they looking around at all the white people walking by like they were scared. Like they were scared of telling the fucking truth. And that's what is so silencing, is that when we talk about the truth, which is our experience, which is not given any stock or fucking credos, because we are unlucky enough to be black, female-bodied people in a society that sees us as unlucky, it's fucking kills me to see white folks and their watchful eyes on two black folks that dare to talk about white people. Fuck you, bitch. And that's how the fuck I feel. Fuck you, bitch. Fuck the white bitch that came up to me talking about, I'm an ally. I know white people are fucked up. Go talk about something. Are you talking about how white people are fucked up? And I said, yes. And she said to me, oh, I know. Oh, I know, we're really fucked up. And I said, well, you should do something about that shit. And you know what she said to me? I do. I actually do.
But you know what they do? And you know why you'll always be too belligerent, angry, uppity, uncivil, unruly, unrespectable is because what they do and what you're supposed to be perpetually grateful for is that we exist in conditions where they don't actually have whip in their hands and they're not lashing your back.
Yeah!
And it's like,
nigga, you know the cage. Why you mad?
What else more do you want? What else more do you want?
What else could there be for you, nigga?
So it's like to transition through the moments in history where chattel slavery was alive and well in this country, and capitalism fucking proliferated. No, not even proliferated. Capitalism is like the fucking maggots on the fucking corpse of fucking chattel slavery. So anybody who's fucking benefiting from this system and then tries to be on some rugged individual ahistorical ass shit like, oh, you just know how to pull up your bootstrap. If you tried harder, meritocracy! Bullshit! You can pull it up too. That was a segue.
But what you're saying
is you're supposed to be grateful because they're not cracking the whip anymore. So chattel slavery was, quote, emancipated for these very specific reasons that we don't talk about. When I was in grade school learning about American history, I thought, oh, thanks Mr. Lincoln, because they don't fucking talk about the reality of the situation that some people were set free. The folks who could grab something and fight for the Union were free. But emancipation and abolition are not the same thing.
No.
And the history of chattel slavery in this country is not reconciled, and that's how hurt white feelings continue to get centered, because when black people aren't doing well, white people want to be upset that you're upset about your legacy.
Say that shit.
When black people aren't doing well, when black people are hurting, white people want to be upset that you're upset.
Yes.
White people want to get angry when you get angry.
Yes! And that's the thing! It's so silencing when I'm angry, and rightfully fucking so, for you to call me angry as if that's a pejorative, as if I'm not at all explaining to you why I am angry.
As if it's unreasonable, as if it's ahistorical, and essentially completely individualizing and pathologizing the righteous anger that is moving through you as you come into understanding what the fuck you need to understand for your own liberation
and survival.
But people are out here trying to survive. People are out here trying to get liberated. But white people, they start getting shaky because they have to ask themselves, what would be the ramifications? What would be the ramifications of people sitting with the fact that this whole thing is rotten from the core,
is a sham,
be fixed, is a sham, and people want their just due.
Yeah.
People want their justice.
And
their justice is not, a fucking civil rights act that's passed by the fucking constitutions and governmental bodies of this nation state. Look at the state of black people post and not to downgrade the ways in which black folks in different decades were just struggling and trying to do what they were trying to do, but we have to come for respectability. We have to come for the ways in which the civil rights movement was in many ways black folks that were handpicked to be the people who can be presentable, who were handpicked to be the people that are not going to act too wild, that are not going to get too upset, that are not going to act too foolish and quote foolish or too unruly. But when you look at where we're at, post movements of decades past, the conditions for black people just seem to not really be meaningfully shifting, and it's like, what could be expected out of these systems? What could be expected out of the mechanisms of a rotten, wretched house that was built by stolen labor that still has not been compensated for? Where are the white people that are trying to fucking pay some black folks for what is owed to them? And the same mansion that is acting as this divisive force, not just between black folks and First Nations folks, or First Nations folks and black folks, but just amongst people of color in terms of these varied histories of, legacies of global colonization or imperialism or whatever the case may be. But this rotten mansion is sitting on stolen land. It was built by stolen labor, and white people keep on wanting to try to act like they're doing you a favor. When they put the whip down, they wanted to act like they were doing black folks a favor, even though it was for their benefit, and even though it was for the purpose of keeping their state together. And even though soon after the Reconstruction era and the violence that was perpetuated against newly freed African people moving around is absurd, and people don't really want to talk about it. I see that slave movies are the new phase. I want to see some movies about the Reconstruction era. I want to see some movies about black people being picked up en masse for being vagrants. You just got freed. They told you that if you learned how to read, that it could cost you your life. So you're making moves in a certain way where you have no choice. It's manifestations of trauma. You've been told that you're not human. But you just got emancipated. And black folks are walking around in the American South getting snatched up because you're a vagrant. Getting snatched up for this, getting snatched up for that. Being put right back into, or not right back into, but being put into new systems, the convict lease system or whatever the case may be, that are essentially replications of the chattel slavery that was never really reckoned with.
Exactly. It's a house within a motherfucking house. That's what all, since slavery was amended and shit, the labor that they got black folks doing on the house is now leased. It's now fucking contracted. It's now like, oh, okay, I need all the black comedians to embody black femme women and fucking tear down black womanhood or black femininity. I'm gonna need y'all to do that. How much money we gotta pay you? A couple million? Skeet. There it is.
And that's for the entertainers, you know?
Yeah.
And you have the maids, you know? You have the domestics. You have the sharecroppers. But you also have the black folks that got snatched up for whatever, that were essentially put into a modified version of slavery.
Exactly.
Performing free labor.
Exactly.
So you either have black people forced to continue performing free labor, or you have black people
also forced because of capitalism.
Exactly. It's also forced.
Yeah. It's like, look, if I don't work for a company, I might get picked up on the street by the police for being fucking shiftless. If I can't assimilate to get a job because I choose not to, which is my choice. I choose not to assimilate. I choose to fucking not, buy into the American dream because it's an American nightmare. That's what it is. The American dream is this idea of a house that was built by black, brown, white, all different types of people for the common good. But the way that shit is spun, this house is a fucking enemy, and yet it sits on stolen land and wants to tell niggas that want to come over to the house that they say is open. They try to lie. They try to tell you it's an open house, but it's locks on that bitch like a damn fucking shame. That house be open as fuck until it's not. And when it's not, which it is right now, they try to lock the doors of the house. They try to gate this motherfucker. They try to fucking close the borders and talk about all this shit. They trying to barricade the house because niggas around the house is like, why the fuck we in this house? People finally see the house for what it is. Because look, let me go into the layers of the house though. Let me go into it. As I was telling Jody, I see my consciousness in terms of being a black person, being a person who is assumed to be female-bodied, despite the fact that I am a transgender person, I'm a bigender person, and I feel like, I am not always a femme-presenting person, and when I am not femme-presenting, I don't personally feel like, the pronouns are correct, and I am misgendered, and I am not treated the way that I want to be treated, despite having cis privilege for sure. In one of my gender presentations, I do have the privilege of being cis presenting, meaning that people aren't going to fucking use a slur against me like they would perhaps a trans woman who is assumed to be a man, despite the fact that their outward presentation would dictate everything but. And that's not even to go into the non-binary folks who are not all coding themselves in these very rigid gender boxes and get no fucking peace and get no representation. But when I come out of my face and I talk about, or rather when I'm able to be conscious of my blackness, conscious of my femness, conscious of, my fatness, conscious of the oppressive energies of fucking capitalism. When all of that shit was able to be realized and actualized in terms of language, in terms of having community and support, when those things occurred, I noticed it was like a light came on. But as I live in this house of the United States and I turned on that fucking light, I saw mold, maggots, debris, garbage everywhere on the walls, all over the place. Things that happened to me in my past would jump out at me because I would notice and see it for what the fuck it is now that I have my light on. But here's the thing about the light. Sometimes people want to turn on a light switch and they think because they can see it, and this is white people a lot of times, they want to act like because they were able to turn on the light switch and get that information and see that white supremacy in terms of it being ingrained. They think that that light switch and the flick of it is just enough. They think that being able to see the maggots, the mold, the debris, the garbage on the walls of this house is enough. It's the same as being someone who in this house is an intruder. Think of it like that. In this house, if I have not been contracted to work on the house, if the house ain't being built on my bones or my back, and if I didn't build this house from the fucking bottom up, if I didn't do those three things, I am an intruder in that house. And that's what I say when I talk to other black and brown folks and people of color. There is a fucking intrusion involved in your personhood in the United States. They see you as a foreign person, and not in the terms of like not being from this motherfucker, but of not having any stakes, as Jody was saying, not having anything linking you here. You know, so like last night when they wanted to show the Coca-Cola commercial where they had different people talking about I'm American in all their languages. When white people got mad, it was because white people refused to turn on the light, and they said, "There's some intruders in here. There's some intruders in the house. Don't y'all know we speak English? Don't y'all know that that's the language we speak?" And that's the thing. And the thing is, the thing that gives you away as an intruder is turning on them fucking lights. You turn on them fucking lights and you start seeing shit. You can't be quiet. You turn on them lights, you start learning about Tulsa, Oklahoma. You can't turn that light off. When you turn on the light and you learn about the history of enslavement of your people, that's not a light you turn off. So all these black babies, when they go through school and they're taught for 30 fucking days, most of the time 28, because they save it for February, when they want to talk to you about the history of enslaved Africans in America, they give you a fucking drive-through motherfucking menu of what the fuck y'all can learn about, and it ain't fucking much. And it's just enough to let you know you a nigga, but it ain't enough to let you know how the fuck you became one. They don't want to talk about the history. They want to talk to you like you just appeared and you a fucking eyesore. So that's what I'm saying. In this house of the USA, you are a fucking intruder. And as soon as you turn on the light and you let the nigga that own the house know that you in the house, I pray for you because that's when they want to come to you.
If you don't have a broom in your hand,
shit.
If you don't have a broom in your hand, or if you're not
holding you better not have no. Excuse me. No, because you're talking about the niggas that is working in the house. Yeah. But I'm saying, as an intruder, what is your protection? What is your protection as an intruder of the USA? What is your protection? Turning on those lights and educating and seeing other folks. But that's work. That's the other part of it. They want you to walk through this house. And they want you to pick up a fucking spade. They want you to pick up a broom. They want you to chop up some chicken. They want you to sing a hymnal. They want you to fucking do something magical for them. Show them a magic trick. Talk about some place in Africa that they won't remember the fucking name of when they get home. They want you to perform. Because if you're going to be an intruder, you better have a goddamn reason for being in this motherfucker. And that's how they get black folks. Because they got black folks thinking, if I'm not making no money for the house, if I'm not putting on no rent, if I'm not fucking feeding no white people, if I'm not sharing with white people, if I'm not caring for white people, then I don't have no fucking worth. And
not just only because even though the individual and the institutional implications are linked, but just to say not only individual white people, but white white society, you know, and these institutions that exist as a part of white society. If you're not caring for and improving, you know, fixing, keeping upkeep, performing this labor to uphold these institutions and the system that benefits from these institutions continuing to perpetuate, then you have no worth. Then you're a problem. Then you're an intruder. And the thing is, you're always an intruder. They're always watching for you. They're always watching to make sure that you're acting right. And that's the thing. It's really unfortunate that you know, folks who opt into respectability don't realize that they're still always checking for you. They're always hawking over you and making sure you're acting right. Especially if you've come to a place where you have a high level of visibility or a lot of people can see you. They for sure wouldn't want you to start acting too militant, because you're a source of inspiration or representation to black folks. That's something other than a fixer for this fucked up society, but something that perhaps is a source of deconstructing all of this bullshit. So it's like your humanity doesn't mean anything if you're not.
But the thing is, as an intruder, you don't feel like an intruder because you see your history in the walls of the house. Think about indigenous people. They feel like they standing on top of somebody all the time in this house. You know what I mean?
And that's
exactly. I don't know. Like, I know that like indigenous folks are in my family. I don't claim my indigenous roots because they've been fucking washed away. They literally built a house on top of the records of my family. And so the people that have the records, that have the ability to know where they're from, they gotta stand on top of it like it don't exist. Or actually try and bring recognition to something that people think is underneath the fucking house. People talk about Native Americans and indigenous folks of the Americas like they don't exist no more. Like they're not encaged, living in other houses. Like other houses haven't been built for them. Shittier houses. Houses that come built for them to keep them there. To keep them so they can watch them. Because there is something about being an indigenous person, and there's a special kind of intruder of being someone that was there first. The white people gonna build that house, but they gonna make sure the rest of y'all don't talk about what the fuck is under that house. And that's why we don't see First Nations and indigenous people out here. We do, but we don't. They're not given the grand scale. They'll put a black man in the White House because they know he's not gonna say no black shit. They know he's not going to say no shit that's going to implicate him as being the owner of the house. And that's the thing. Barack Obama is still an intruder in the house. That's the worst part about it. He's an intruder that make the other intruders feel like they at home. That's the fucked up part. Barack Obama got white people thinking, this house ain't that bad. A black man own the house now. White people want to give up that lease. Oh, no. It's a black man's house now. And they want to act like everything done changed because Papa's home. It's still a white man's house. A black man just happened to be on the fucking lease today. This bitch just ruining my whole shit. Well, unless you got a sandwich. Hey, you got a sandwich? Oh, will y'all take me? Oh, excuse me. Okay. I ain't gotta go on his score.